Hello, my name is Asia Alexander Turnbow, and today I will be talking about the topic of are viruses alive? There are 10 million types of viruses that exist in the world today. According to Harvard Medical School, only 270 of those viruses affect humans. Some, as we know, can cause us to become terribly ill. But we can use part of those set viruses to counteract the illnesses. Viruses live on flat surfaces, and they usually need a host to reproduce, unlike other living things. They do not have cells like all organisms do. But by using a small part of the virus's DNA, you can make a vaccine. Viruses are not alive, but are very useful. Because they do not have cells, they do not have a metabolism to make energy, and they need a host to survive, but we can use their DNA to make a vaccine. According to National Geographic Education, viruses are tiny infectious agents, a microscopic substance that can invade the body, made up of DNA or RNA, molecules inside the body that contain genetic information, growth and development. And even though they have DNA, I still believe they are not alive. The main reason being they do not have cells. Cells can be eukaryotes, which has a nucleus to hold their DNA, or prokaryotes, which doesn't have a nucleus to hold DNA. Viruses do not have organ systems, which mainly helps produce energy, pump blood, and release waste for living things. They do not have a stomach to move energy around, and they do not have the ability to change and grow. To do these things, viruses would need cells or to be a cell. A lot of scientists do believe that viruses are on the verge of living and non-living, like they are between worlds in the middle of it all. The dispute between whether viruses are alive or not in the science community has been around for years. Scientists are people who study the ways of life or certain characteristics of life by using the elements, molecules that make up our world. On the periodic table, a chart with elements and their molecules that make up the universe. And they usually ask the questions why or how something works. Biologists are people who study life and do not believe that viruses are alive because they do not have cells or are not a cell themselves. In a biology teaching video by the Amigo sisters, Grand Tour, she mentions modern cell theory. It has 3 rules, one of which being all living things have cells. But some people believe viruses are between life and death. For example, Mapping Ignorance has a website talking about viruses not being alive or dead, using the fact that viruses are made of DNA and RNA and proteins called caspase. And because it has DNA, they say they are qualified to be alive since they have the genetic material and replicate 2 important traits. This paragraph will be talking about how we can use part of viruses to warn our bodies and act as safeguards for our health. According to Harvard Medical School, viruses can be harnessed to make vaccines and diagnose infections. For example, in the year 2020, a pandemic broke out, leading to a lockdown. Do any of you remember that? If anyone could raise their hand and tell me how their experience in 2020 was with the COVID pandemic. Yes, sir?
So with my experience with COVID, it was kind of depressing and very just drag worthy, and it made it worse that people didn't want to have masks or get vaccines at all.
Was any of your family members affected by it? Did you lose someone to it?
I didn't necessarily lose someone to COVID, but it did make it harder for the person that I did lose to get the help that she really needed because of all the extra sickness.
The cause was and that is why we needed vaccines. Because one way we fought against COVID-19 was by using vaccines. By taking part of the virus and injecting it into the human cells, we were able to warn our bodies before it could get to us to make sure we wouldn't be in a detrimental state. There are 10 million types of viruses that make up DNA, that are made up of DNA and RNA. Because of this, some people think they are live, but this is farther from the truth. People often make mistakes of saying that viruses are alive, mostly because they have DNA and RNA. For instance, mapping ignorance believe that they are not alive until they are in a cell. But just because a virus can infect the cell does not make it alive. And if that were the case, we are still talking about the virus itself, not why it is inside the human body. Thank you for your time.
My name is Ronnie McClendon, and my essay is TikTok negative impact on society. Who here watches TikTok? Who here watches it more than 1 hour? Okay. Well, you've probably seen trends of people dancing or people making funny videos, but I'm here to tell you that TikTok isn't all good. The case of Mason Edens, a 2022 lawsuit. A mother accused TikTok of contributing to her 16-year-old son's death by suicide. Research by NBC News. This is one of many cases of TikTok contributing to self-harm or even suicide in teenagers and young adults. According to Backlink, 1.12 billion people in the world uses TikTok, and 170 million in the U.S. Over 50% of the U.S. population uses TikTok, affecting millions of people's lives every day. TikTok has had a negative impact on society. Not only does it have a negative effect on young minds, but it can also induce self-harm or even endangering situations. Social media is multiple platforms on the internet where people can share, chat, and watch videos. TikTok is a social media platform for sharing, watching videos, and entertainment. TikTok is one of the most well-known and influential platforms in the world, with people all around the world using its platform. Though this could become problematic because people could vary from young to old, being influenced by this platform every day. This influence could be negative or positive, depending on what the video is. Scrolling through TikTok can easily become addictive. Scrolling for hours on end, people may think it's harmless, but simple pleasures can easily become addictions. Don't believe me? Who here has a friend or family member who decided to take on vaping? Have any of you ever heard, maybe said something along the lines of, I only want to try it once, or I can stop whenever I want. Okay. Now, let's put it into TikTok form. I'll only be on it for an hour. Sound familiar? It's not a secret that TikTok has dozens of people on its platform, but that exposure can become problematic when it comes to teenagers and its effect on their mental health. TikTok videos can negatively affect mental health and get millions of views, which most are by teenagers and young adults. Even small videos like makeup tutorials or how to look pretty could negatively affect mainly young girls and who are more easily self-conscious about their face, hair, and bodies. Although low self-esteem may sound like an easily fixable problem, as someone who's struggled with it, it is not a simple fix. Social media influencers could also encourage young girls to make unnecessary changes to their bodies. From influencers promoting body to facial surgeries. Often TikTok's platform does little to prevent this inappropriate behavior by its creators, such as promoting suicide. TikTok and its effect on children and young minds. Children are the most impressionable beings in society. Since they are still growing, it's easy for them to follow what they see on the internet. During someone's childhood, it's important not to let them see the wrong things on the internet that could stay with them way into their adulthood. Today, now more than ever, it's easy for young children to access the internet, with phones, iPads, and laptops given to them by their parents as distractions, making access to TikTok especially more accessible. We're already seeing this effect take place. Videos of young children doing full face makeup or attention spans being shortened and not focused on classrooms. These may seem like small issues, but what about the long-term effects? According to the National Library of Medicine, short-form videos characterized by fast-paced content may have unique effects on children's development. Constantly watching short-term videos like TikTok could dent a child's attention span, which can negatively affect their school environment. TikTok isn't just for fun. To those of young age, it can be harmful. It can be unsafe or even harmful. TikTok is an easily accessible platform and a very addictive platform. TikTok only grows. We can't prevent it from that, but we can learn and discipline ourselves and guide those that are younger than us, so no other accidents happen. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ethan Glover, and I'm going to be talking about should the cloning of humans be legal. To start off, has anyone ever falsely accused you of something? And what was it?
Well, I got falsely accused for taking something I didn't take.
What about you?
I got falsely accused for stealing a candy bar when I was 8.
Well, if clones were real, the likelihood of that happening would skyrocket. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, in 2024, there was a 1.1 million rise of identity theft reports, which was a 9.5% rise from the previous year. If cloning were legal, then the number of identity theft reports would skyrocket. The same can be said for false convictions as well. According to the National Registry of Exonerations, 147 people were exonerated, which means the wrongful convictions were overturned. While this is good news, this also means that the number of wrongful convictions could be higher, and we just don't know. Altogether, 147 people lost 1,980 years of their lives collectively. The cloning of humans should be legal due to the problems they cause for our society. Well, what exactly is cloning? Clones are organisms down to our exact DNA, which is stated by LongeneX Utah. According to an article written by Shannon Gunn on September 14th of 2021 on Frontline Genomics, the idea of cloning came from a German biologist by the name of Hans Driesch in 1885. Driesch found out that the blastomeres of a two-cell sea urchin could be separated and form from two different embryos. This means that it would take the reproductive cell of a two-cell sea urchin and artificially make another sea urchin, cloning it. Though this process is possible, we aren't sure if it's applicable with humans, but if it were, would this even be a promising idea? If I had a clone of myself, in some ways it could be helpful. According to the American Institute of Stress, 75% of high school students and 50% of middle school students are constantly stressed because of schoolwork. Personally, I have friends that are stressed from their workload and as well as problems at home. If you were to create a clone of yourself, it would help reduce the workload off of people and in turn reduce stress. According to the American Institute of Stress, 70% of US teens from ages 13 to 17 identify anxiety and depression as major issues among their peers. Having a clone gives you someone to talk to and someone who will understand your issues and how you think, and it will make people more comfortable venting out their issues. Now, while there can be benefits to cloning, the cons outweigh the pros. To start, if you were to make an actual clone of yourself, you'd have to raise it from the ground up. The clone will start from infancy, you have to teach it everything you know, and you have to raise it too. Clones also present issues when it comes to the justice system. Clones present a large issue of identity theft. From 2023 to 2024, there are 1.1 million identity theft reports. If there were clones of people, the rates would go up exponentially. It would be harder on the justice system too. Because clones are exact negative copies down to our DNA, they share the same features as you, such as fingerprints. Identifying fingerprints is a method law enforcement uses to identify people. If you had a clone, it would make this method nearly useless. This makes the issue of people being falsely accused by crimes rise by a large amount, as it would be even harder to identify the right person, because if the clones are also sentient beings, it would make it easier for people to frame you, and vice versa. But while clones seem like they would be helpful in the initial thought, they can be detrimental to our society. Clones also present the danger of identity theft and imprisonment. As a result, the cloning of humans should be legal due to the problems they cause to our society. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, and how are you all doing today? My name is Ivan Nelms, and today I will be covering the effects that AI has over two mediums of art that I immerse myself in pretty fondly. Jazz music and culinary. So, quick question for everyone in the audience. Who here enjoys cooking? And what does everyone cook in here? Jameer?
I cook burgers.
Anybody else? Alright.
I make mac and cheese.
I personally like cooking hamburger helper.
Okay. And now, we live in an era captivated by motivation. Every day we are told that artificial intelligence will refine our lives, streamline our workloads, and solve our most complex problems. But today I want to step away from the data centers and look at two sanctuaries of human spirit that defy optimization: the kitchen and the community of African American music. Culinary art and jazz music are fundamentally defined by improvisational mastery, cultural heritage, and deep, unquantifiable human emotion. As someone deeply invested in the technical mechanics of artistic expression, I see cooking and jazz not as two separate things, but as one whole thing combined. A master chef adjusting a sauce on a roaring stove runs the same exact creative frequency as a jazz musician responding to an unexpected chord progression on a stage. Yet, as generative AI infiltrates these domains, we are facing an insidious threat: the algorithmic erosion of soul. By reducing taste and rhythm to mere data, AI risks flattening the very elements that makes these art forms profoundly human. I think we should all first step into the kitchen. Cooking is not merely about combining ingredients, it is a living history book. It is a story told through the hands of a grandmother passing down a regional dish, or a chef spending decades learning exactly how a specific cut of meat responds to fire. Enter generative AI. Today, food corporations are already using algorithms to analyze millions of recipes, cross-reference flavor compounds, and instantly output a theoretically perfect menu optimized for maximum corporate profitability. But look closer at what happens when software dictates flavor. In the culinary world, McKinsey's 2026 restaurant analysis highlights a massive push towards AI-powered recipe testing. When AI creates a recipe, it does so through statistical probability. The result is a slow, creeping homogenization of taste. AI cannot taste the memory of a childhood dish passed down from generation to generation, thus eliminating any ability to understand the cultural weight of a traditional ingredient. When we rely on algorithms to design our menus, we exchange the risky, brilliant intuition of a human chef for sterile predictability. We risk turning our restaurants into culinary echo chambers, where true innovation is paced out by algorithmic safety. The true magic of both jazz and fine dining lives in the live, unpredictable present. What musicians call swing, what chefs know as the sensory instinct of the kitchen line. Jazz is an art form born out of struggle, resilience, and immediate conversation. When a sax player goes on a soaring solo, they're locked into a live dialogue with the drummer. They feel the timing, imperfections, and intentional rhythmic friction. The kitchen runs the same way. A true line cook doesn't just look at a timer. They listen to the pitch of the sizzle in the pan. They smell the caramelization of sugars and adjust the heat in a split-second response to the atmosphere in the room. AI does not, cannot, and likely will not for the new future work in the spontaneous present. A machine cannot look at a crowd, sense a shift in the room's energy, and alter its phrasing or its seasoning to tell a new story. Industry trends for 2026 show AI being heavily deployed for hyper-personalization and predictive demand, yet tech analysts openly admit that automated kitchen lines still do not capture the execution and soul of a human cook. When we flood streaming platforms with AI-generated jazz or music in general, or allow corporate algorithms to dictate our menus, we teach audiences to accept a counterfeit. We exchange a raw, breathing heartbeat for a hollow digital mimicry. The dangers here are not just aesthetic, they are economic. Independent jazz musicians and local chefs are already fighting an uphill battle. In 2026, we are seeing a massive influx of AI-generated tracks from Suno, Udio, Beethoven AI, and AVIA being quietly mixed into the commercial streaming playlists to avoid paying royalties to living artists. In the exact same stride, a food service sector is aggressively adopting agentic AI and automated scheduling, systemically trimming 15% to 50% of human labor hours from workflows. By replacing human creators with software to maximize profit margins, we are starving at the underground ecosystems that keep culture alive. A computer program does not buy a ticket to a local jazz show. An algorithm does not spend years mentoring countless culinary artists in a kitchen. When we price out the independent artists, we destroy and demolish the very communities where these legacy art forms are born and protected. In closing, I am proposing that we exclude artificial intelligence entirely from all creative outlets and careers. There is a vast difference between using a tool to aid human creativity and allowing a machine to replace it. The beauty of a perfectly balanced dish or a transcendent jazz ballad is that it is fleeting, born from human limitation, and fueled by human love and passion. If we surrender our sensory world to the absolute optimization of algorithms, we will find ourselves well-fed but spiritually starved, listening to flawless music and eating flawless food that makes us feel absolutely nothing. Let us choose the messy, beautiful, unpredictable spirit. Let us support the chef who cooks from the heart and the musician who plays from the soul. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ava Riley, and my topic is should government regulate the use of artificial intelligence? First of all, do you guys enjoy seeing art stolen by artificial intelligence or having information fed to artificial intelligence from a person who may not know much at all?
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm sure you don't, especially if you're an artist yourself or just use AI for schoolwork. Schoolwork, college, or maybe even your real job, depending on the job. Government regulating the use of artificial intelligence and how many actual artists, made by actual people, get accused of using AI. However, if you're not an artist or use any artist or know any artist personally, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and other AI apps you probably use are highly used and are as problematic. Artificial intelligence is a form of technology which we all use in this day and age. Technology is on our devices, such as phones, computers, tablets, iPads, and TVs, and we rely on them. Technology can be both useful and draining with how everything is on our technological devices. There is a lot of false information we receive from artificial intelligence, whether it's from an AI ad or just using AI to receive information. Artificial intelligence, also known as AI, causes a negative impact because it steals the jobs of artists and the minds of people who are still in school using AI to get answers, including people in colleges. Regulating AI will also make AI stricter, as the government will have more control and leaving it to the minds of people who are imaginative and want to share their opinion as facts. Did you guys know that artificial intelligence uses a lot of water to cool down data centers, which is harmful in nature according to Environmental Law Institute?
Yes, I have read about that.
Lastly, it would be fair to include the cons of having the government regulate the use of artificial intelligence. The cons can be restrictions AI could possibly receive. Giving the government that power can be risky depending on the trust we have to our government. However, knowing the pros, some would be willing to take this risk. I believe that artificial intelligence should be regulated from people who just use it should not be regulated from people who use it for entertainment, as its access has been abused. As the years go on, artificial intelligence only gets increasingly popular and used, which is stealing jobs of artists and pulling out all sorts of incorrect information. If you need information, do not use AI. Try to find a credible source instead. To sum it all up, there are pros and cons of regulating the use of AI. AI has people thinking their jobs will be taken and scared of the future. At high school, students are using ChatGPT more than ever to get through school. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shamir Thomas, and my topic is, should the government regulate the use of AI? How would you feel if false images of yourself were online? Any hands? Asia?
I would feel violated because if there were images of me or false images of me, it would be weird. And I've heard about these types of things where people have been putting like children into there and like trying to see them naked, and that's just horrible, just disgusting.
That is unfortunately a reality of this. And also, how would you feel if the things that you were to have created were used without your consent? Ivan?
I would feel absolutely mortified that all my work that I had put into something, for example, like the drawing I made, took me about 3 years. If something like that went on the internet and got taken and used to train an AI model, I would be livid because all that hard work is now going into something that can make it in like 3 or so minutes, and then I don't get paid for my work.
That is also an unfortunate reality. And this could be happening to anyone right now because of the use of AI, otherwise known as artificial intelligence. AI is a coding algorithm, which is a computer code that sorts and organizes information that is given based off of learned patterns. that takes text and images and rearranges them. In the process of taking said images and text, creators commonly do not ask permission to take the data that they need to make the images and text. This leads to common issues of plagiarism. The government should regulate the usage of AI simply because of the harm that it does to human intelligence, creativity, and integrity. Now, that general overview of what an AI is, a coding algorithm, is not the full in-depth thing. What an AI actually is also a neural network. A neural network is a machine learning algorithm based off of the human mind using artificial neurons that process information back to back in order to create patterns based on what it has learned. As stated in What is a Neural Network by Feng Li on IBM. The way that AI neural networks function is by searching for specific patterns within data they are presented and imitating them based off the patterns it learned. Though based off of human minds, it lacks the ability to generate on its own. Instead, it relies on human-made content in a limited pool and rearranging text and images to create media. This process does differ between text-based AIs and image-based AIs. Text-based AIs take data out of learned numbers and letters and sentences and rearrange them into sentences, but it does not have the ability to understand the gravity of the words that it is saying. This has led to issues such as slurs being said and things like ChatGPT or sexual content being released to minors, as well as affecting the elderly. Then image-based AIs, on the other hand, it takes multiple images and other kinds of data and matches them together using a word prompt, which is how it sorts through the images, and it creates an image. There is a problem in this process, that being the data for generative AI is obtained in very unconventional and unethical ways. Now that we understand it, we must question it, the ethics of AI. As stated before, generative AI uses data in a limited pool, but the data in the pool is usually never ethically sourced. Most generative AI systems use human-made content non-consensually. When search on the popular social media app TikTok, and you'll see artists having their art style stolen. Twitter's Grok AI has chronically been used to imitate the work of a famous artist and founder of Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki, disrespecting his views on art and his art style. Many companies are actively forcing non-consensual AI, such as Google with their automatic AI summarization. But Google's access to the most popular and well-visited websites makes it so that the information that is given to you is not always 100% professionally sourced, coming from places like Reddit or possibly, again, TikTok. Not only are artists and social forms of media being trained with AI without consent, apps like Instagram are actively monitoring your private conversations and using them for their AI speech text. This breaks the privacy of conversation and violates their users' ability to freely express without the fear of having their conversation ruined by someone else or a computer. More and more applications have been using tactics that are not being disclosed, changing the terms and services without having a wide-scale announcement at all. Considering the cons of AI usage, I believe the government should step in, but the question is, how? Well, first, the government needs to appeal new copyright laws that prohibits the use of AI being trained off creators and smaller accounts without consent. This will prevent all kinds of theft. It will prevent companies from exploiting the weak and it will make sure that people don't have like their ability to get money or provide profit or make their own media get interrupted in any type of way. Another law that they should introduce is so that they must disclose that they're using AI in any kind of way. This like helps with people who have certain feelings about AI, and it also prevents things such as violations of privacy again. Because if they are disclosing it, they cannot hide it, and they won't have to risk their own selves being sued. And lastly, there should be a ban on AI in academics. It has been atrophying one's brain, and also it has been generalizing information, which is very much not useful. And when it generalizes the information, it makes it so that you cannot get good information out of it. It will give you things that are lackluster and also things that are randomly sourced from people who will lie on the internet. In conclusion, AI has been misused and harmful to people. The government should step in, and knowing the way that AI uses social media, the rest of the internet, and generalizes information while stealing from others. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elsa Romero. Today I'll be answering, is AI pretending to be smart? Look around the room. By the time we graduate, most of the articles we read, the videos we watch, and the text messages we receive will be written by something that doesn't have a single thought or feeling. Have you ever talked to a robot and wondered if it understood you or if it's just pretending? Today, millions of people use artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, Alexa, Siri, and Google to answer questions, write essays, or help with everyday tasks. Because these tools respond so fast and sound human, many people think artificial intelligence might be intelligent. Even though artificial intelligence can seem smart, it doesn't think like people. Instead, it uses patterns, data, and programming to decide what to say or do. For instance, AI is programmed on huge amounts of text and information from the internet, so it can predict the response to a question. This is John McCarthy. Back in 1956, he helped invent the term artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence started as an idea at a workshop held at Dartmouth College. By a quick show of hands, who here feels like they exactly know what AI is? And for those who didn't raise their hand or aren't entirely sure, artificial intelligence is a computer science focused on building machines that can perform tasks requiring human intelligence. Artificial intelligence can seem intelligent because of how fast it processes information and responds to people. For example, popular AI platforms like Siri, Alexa, or ChatGPT can perform tasks like answering questions, write essays, or even hold conversations. According to researchers, AI systems use algorithms and data rather than actually understanding to create responses. They don't actually understand what they're saying the way humans do. Humans have emotions, opinions, and experience that help shape how we think, while artificial intelligence only follows what it's programmed on. However, as the programming improves, artificial intelligence is becoming a big part of everyday lives. It shows up almost everywhere, like hospitals, schools, and even cars. In healthcare, AI helps doctors find diseases faster by analyzing medical images and patient data. In education, it can support students by explaining topics in different ways or giving instant feedback. Self-driving cars use AI to figure out where to go, and when to stop. Business also use AI chatbots to answer questions or recommend products based on what people search online. These examples show how AI is useful, but it also shows that it depends on data and programming, not real thinking. Raise your hand if you use any AI tools and it gave you a wrong answer. That's why people worry about artificial intelligence, because it can make mistakes. Although it seems artificial intelligence doesn't really understand the world like we do. It can mix up information, give wrong answers, or misunderstand what someone is asking. AI systems sometimes give incorrect responses because they are programmed on large amounts of internet data, which isn't always accurate. This shows that artificial intelligence isn't truly intelligent. It follows whatever it's programmed to do. Because of this, we can't depend on it for everything. We still have to make sure what it tells us is actually right. In conclusion, artificial intelligence can be helpful, but it still has limits. It can do a lot of tasks, but it doesn't fully understand the way people do. That's why we shouldn't rely on it for everything. As artificial intelligence continues to grow, we need to use it carefully and make smart choices about when to trust it. Overall, artificial intelligence is helpful. Artificial intelligence isn't intelligent, but instead it simply mimics human intelligence. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peyton Haney, and this is my speech on Is Nature Stronger Than Nurture? How has your childhood affected your life? Asia.
Well, it affected my life in some good and some bad ways. Like, for instance, I kind of have due to some things happening, I kind of have some trauma with some noises and stuff.
Interesting. Now, what if I asked you how your body and brain affected your life? Ivan.
I'd say that your body and brain affect your life like throughout everything that you go through, because if you're going through something traumatic, then your brain is going to process that, and you might get some side effects in your bodily functions. So I would say with everything you go through in life, you're going to naturally start changing.
Very interesting. Now, would you say that these factors have affected you the same, or that one has affected you more than the other? Well, this is the argument of nature versus nurture. According to the National Library of Medicine, an estimated 62.8% of adults in the U.S. have experienced an adverse childhood experience, or an ACE. An ACE is a traumatic experience that you go through before the age of 18. Nature and nurture both have significant roles in your life. When talking about the topic of nature versus nurture, nature does not just mean the grass and the trees outside. It describes how humans act without the influence of others. According to the Department of Child and Adolescent Health, the average age of a person starting puberty is between 8 and 14 years old. During puberty, teens may experience mental and physical changes that affect how they act. This is one of the most common examples of how nature works when it comes to human behavior. Nurture is a word typically associated with a parental figure, and that's what it is. Nurture is the influence that your environment and situation, mostly your childhood, have on you. The Center of Disease Control states that through the ages of 0 and 17, experience violence, abuse, or neglect, witnessing violence in the home or community, having an attempt or deaths by suicide, substance or mental issues, parental separation, or a family member being incarcerated all count as an ACE. Anyone, not just children, experiencing these events can rewrite people's minds and change their natural way of thinking. In desperate and unusual circumstances, the context of your situation could justify your brain rewriting itself. According to attorneyhelp.org, in the case of Andrea Yates, a killer that had unchecked mental illnesses, drowned her five children in a bathtub. In nature, there are countless examples of mothers doing anything in their power to protect and help their children. Being postpartum, Miss Yates suffered severe depression and psychosis, which caused her to genuinely believe that murdering her children would save them from eternal damnation. In this instance, her unchecked mental illness, a product of her environment, caused the natural motherly instinct to be shut off in her brain, and she went clinically insane. To a point, nature does control the way you act. Most other mothers who suffer from postpartum depression do not murder their children because there is still some of that instinct to protect them. If a human is in intense emotions such as happiness, sadness, or anger, it could cause them to act against their nature, but sometimes your nature aligns with your nurture. It is in human nature to protect yourself. According to mdcourts.gov, self-defense cases are ones where a person charged with manslaughter argues that they felt their life was at jeopardy and that the killing was necessary. In a situation where you feel your life is at stake, killing someone to protect yourself is mentally and judicially justified. Overall, the choices we make can be driven by something we learned, but also be driven by one's own instinct. I do not believe that one has more power over the other. I think they work together to make decisions that are in your best interest. Thank you.
My name is Leah McCray, and this is my speech on should cloning be legal. Imagine waking up and seeing someone who looks exactly like you, walking down the street. This is Multiple City. Has anyone seen it?
It was about people, am I correct, this was a while ago, that someone had a twin or what they thought was a twin, but it's actually a clone?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was about basically he said a person who believed cloning was fun and basically decided to redo cloning. That person was created in a laboratory to be exactly like you, your exact genetic copy. While this idea sounds something like from a science fiction movie, some scientists believe human cloning could be eventually possible. Cloning is a process of creating an exact copy of a cell, tissue, or organism. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, cloning makes an exact copy of another organism's DNA, tissue, or cell. Cloning humans should not be allowed because it creates serious issues of moral values, also legal issues with the risk of mistaking identity and other social problems that relate to identity theft. One reason cloning should not be allowed is to feel that cloning allows humans to play God. Cloning individuals in labs creates life unnaturally. Religion and personal beliefs strongly influence how people feel about cloning. According to a 2024 study by the Pew Research Center, 84% of people who attend church weekly disapprove of human cloning, compared to 66% of people who attend less often. Christians believe cloning is interfering with God's plan for life and is unethical. Cloning people has illegal implications. Since clones are a replica of human beings, one could be falsely accused of something they didn't do. Clones have their own personality. Many people believe if you clone someone, they will be exactly like the original. That simply isn't true. A person's disorder is rarely determined by genes alone. Environmental factors such as being stressed, lifestyle, diet, and trauma play a massive role in whether a genetic predisposition is expressed. Because the clone grows up in a different time and environment, they will be different people from the original being, according to Learn Genetics Utah claimants. Supporters of cloning do argue that it could improve medicine and save lives. Scientists believe cloning could be used to create stem cells, which are special cells that can grow into different types of tissue. According to the National Human Genome Research Institute, stem cells created through cloning could be used to replace damaged or diseased tissues, could lead into treatments for conditions such as Parkinson's disease, heart failure, or spinal cord tissues. Cloning could help doctors understand diseases and develop new treatments. Even though cloning could help advance medicine, it creates a risk that society is not ready to handle. Human cloning could cause emotional and identity problems. The clones may feel like they are copies instead of unique people. It could also blur the line between natural life and artificial creation. Until strong laws and ethical rules are created to protect human dignity as well as the outcomes of life for a clone, cloning should not be allowed. Thank you.
Go ahead. Hi, my name is Azela Benfrey, and my presentation is on should we develop technology that can read minds? So my first question to you all is, can we control our thoughts? Yes.
I don't believe that we can control our thoughts at all.
Is mind reading technology safe? Yes.
I don't think so, because someone could use it to steal ID or your credit card information.
Can I pause y'all for a second?
So my second question is mind reading technology safe? Yes.
No, because people can use it to steal ID and credit card information.
Thank you, I agree. Do we read minds today? Yes, I do.
Well, our current technology is not strong enough to read the human brain.
Thank you. If our brain is our only private space, what is left for us to control if our thoughts are not our own? We cannot control the thoughts that enter our mind, but we can control our response to them and what we choose to focus on, which is what truly defines us and gives us power over our lives. Our thoughts are more than just thoughts. We should be very careful, though, about creating mind-reading technology because even though it can help in areas like medicine, it can also seriously invade people's privacy, harm our basic rights, and be unethical. Okay. So my next question is, why are human thoughts personal? Yes, Mr. McLean.
Because your thoughts come from the word person. It belongs to the person. It belongs to you. That's why they are personal. They are your thoughts.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone know what a BCI is? Okay. So a BCI is a brain-computer interface. It's like acronym for brain-computer interface, and it can help with medication, but it can also risk like mental health and privacy and rights. Mind reading technology happens in our world today, but unlike phones or computers that store data, we put into like the brain-computer interface have access to our personal thoughts, intentions, and emotional responses. Brain-computer interface are mostly used in hospitals to see if a person that's in a coma still has brain activity. Using technology for mind reading can destroy how we think, causes us to be fearful of what we think about. According to Dr. Sean, a neurologist at UC Health Hospital, says, technology is changing healthcare and enabling people who can't speak to communicate with just a thought or expression. Okay. Mind reading technology also harms our basic rights, especially the right to freedom of thought and the right to not incriminate yourself. Since people cannot fully control the thoughts that enter our minds, using thoughts as evidence or judgment would be unfair. A person could punish or treat it differently based on their thoughts and how their thoughts that were never acted on or never intended for people to know. This could change employment, social relationships, and law and order. If governments or authorities gain access to mind-reading technology, it could be used to control or silence people rather than protect them. Taking away control over one's thoughts removes personal agency and threatens the core rights that protect the mind. Okay. Developing mind-reading technology is also unethical because it crosses a boundary as an individual that humans were never meant to cross. Humans were not born with the ability to read minds and create machines that can raise serious ethical concerns. Thoughts are natural and personal, part of being human, not just something that should be monitored or analyzed by technology. While BCI can be helpful in medical settings, using them beyond that purpose risks exposing people rather than helping them. It could change how humans think, making people afraid of their own thoughts or forcing them to filter their minds. We can lose mental freedom against ethical principles of respect, dignity, and independence. In conclusion, mind-reading technology should be developed with extreme caution because it invades people's privacy, harm our basic rights and concerns. While technology like brain-computer interface can offer medical benefits, the risks they pose to mental freedom and human dignity are too great to ignore. Our thoughts define who we are, and if we lose control over them, we lose control over our lives. Society must protect the human mind as a private space and ensure that technology is used to support humanity, not to control it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Taylor Williams, and my topic is AI pretending to be smart? Artificial intelligence, AI, cannot help you if you cannot tell what is real or AI generated. According to ScienceAlert.com, ChatGPT tricked a human into thinking the chatbot was a visually impaired human to get help solving a CAPTCHA. This is proof that we are easily influenced by AI. This is important for you to know because this is dangerous. A CAPTCHA is used by various websites as Instagram, TikTok, and even Facebook to verify if the person is human. Regardless of these facts, hundreds of people continue to use AI daily. Research from Pew Research Center says 50% of Americans think AI will help repair meaningful relationships, while the other 50% of Americans believe AI will worsen people's creative thinking skills. Artificial intelligence can be helpful, but it has negative effects towards humans. Although the concept of automated reasoning has been around since the 50s, AI as it is known today has been on the rise since the late 2010s, with virtual assistants such as Amazon's Alexa and Apple's Siri. These game-changing technologies, while helpful, were limited by the creator and needed independence from the creator. They were limited to small queries such as math problems and general trivia. However, the exponential expansion of generative AI in the last couple of years, the world of independent thought has been shaken, with roots of artificial rebellion beginning to take place. AI has begun to take the place of critical thinking skills and independent thought. This causes human brains to slow their critical thinking skills and thought process. This issue is prevalent around younger individuals, as there are a multitude of studies that prove independence on artificial intelligence when it comes to schoolwork. Research from Study Find says nearly 9 in 10 Americans fear someone will use artificial intelligence to create fake videos of staff and students, while 5 in 1 students have admitted they've already used AI to cheat on assignments. This is evidence that proves the negative uses of artificial intelligence. Furthermore, the use of trained generative AI also leads to a decline in original opinions. Artificial intelligence chatbots such as ChatGPT and Google Gemini are trained on websites like Reddit and X to generate content biased towards opinions of their users, leading to people who use AI to learn one side of an issue and not the other. This is an imbalanced research contributes to the spread of misinformation and unactionable claims. This is proven by a study by IMB that states, produce biases results that affect and perpetuate human biases within society, including historical and current social inequality, such as generative AI continues to grow, the border between real and authentic human thought and machinery reasoning increasingly becomes murky. When people rely on AI as a crutch to do brain-engaging activities such as homework and surveys, and even personal decisions, it creates a vicious cycle that one blatantly promotes the belief that any information presented to you. The question lies whether AI is pretending to be smart, but if humans are allowing machines to think for them. They are not allowed to think for them. AI does not have morals, understanding, creativity of its own, or creativity of its own. All AI-generated responses are nothing more than restated biases and opinions, with a new quote update on them, than actual thought based on authentic human experience. When people rely on AI to complete assignments, make decisions, or form opinions, they risk losing cognitive skills. While AI is an amazing technology advancement, when we relinquish our own thoughts for its algorithms, our perspective is no longer shaped by us, but is shaped by it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cordell Jackson, and my speech is Our Virus is Alive. There are so many viruses on Earth that for every star in the universe, there are at least 10 million viruses on our planet. People should care about whether viruses are alive or not, because they have an impact on their health and sometimes could be permanent. For example, like COVID-19. Has anyone had an experience with COVID-19 that was deadly?
Yeah.
I know.
So my uncle, he contracted COVID-19 in 2020, and unfortunately he died in May of that year. And it really took a toll on me, my family, and my grandma in particular, because that was her brother, her younger brother. And he wasn't really that old, so it was just out of nowhere.
I'm sorry for your loss then. Mr. McLean, you had your hand raised?
I think everybody, not everybody, but a majority of people lost lives, especially elderly, because it affected the immune system. So quite a few people lost from that.
Anyone else? Okay. COVID-19, the number of human lives that died during that time was around 1.5K, according to the World Health Organization, which is a trustworthy site to find the number of human lives that died during COVID-19. Viruses can and cannot be alive because there are millions of viruses and they can all be different. What are viruses? Anyone have educated guess of what viruses are?
I believe they're like singular cells that are harmful to our human body, and they harm anything that is living and is basically a thing with consciousness and energy.
That's really good. Anyone else want to guess? Viruses, according to the National Human Research Institute, viruses are an infectious microscope consisting of segment nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. For the examples, this is RNA on this side, and then this is DNA on this side. So you can see the differences. Viruses are surrounded by a protein coat, deoxyribonucleic acid DNA or ribonucleic acid RNA, are complex molecule structures that control all hydrogen characteristics of cells and thus of organisms. DNA is the master blueprint for life and constitutions genetic material in all free living organisms. RNA uses DNA to code for the structure of proteins synthesized in cells, and is also the genetic material of certain viruses, according to Clinical. Therefore, are viruses living and breathing? For something truly to be living and breathing, they need to have cells, the ability to reproduce on their own. Question states, can viruses reproduce? Well, according to astrobiologists, living things have cells, viruses do not have cells. They have a protein coat that protects them, that protects their genetic materials, either DNA or RNA. But they do not have a membrane or other organelles. For example, ribones or mitochondria that cells have. Living things reproduce in general. Cells reproduce by making a copy of humans' DNA. Unlike cells, viruses do not have the tools to copy their DNA. But they have found other ways to make new viruses. This is done by inserting virus genetic material into a host cell. This causes the cell to make a copy of the virus DNA, making more viruses. I believe that viruses are alive because of these reasons, mostly because they don't have cells or organisms that should, or all organisms should have at least one cell to be alive. But people do believe that viruses could be alive due to the fact they can multiply by being in a living host, and they have genetic material, and they also can evolve through natural selection. Due to these reasons, people mostly consider viruses alive or edge alive. But as I said before, viruses do not have cells, cannot eat, grow, or produce their own energy. They need a living host to survive. Without a host, they are inactive and will face degradation. Complex molecules. After giving all the facts and explaining what viruses are, I have come to the conclusion that viruses are not alive, nor are they dead. They're on the edge of life because they have genetic materials but have no cell or growth. And they can reproduce on their own, but they can't reproduce with a host. But with one, they are just laying on the flat surfaces, waiting for a host, so I believe they're on the edge of life. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hal Voice, and today my presentation is about will robots increase our quality of life. Imagine waking up to a robot cooking your breakfast, cleaning your room, and reminding you to do your homework. Sounds perfect, right? Most people might say yes. Robots can improve our quality of life in numerous ways if they are built correctly and for the right situation. Robots have been a major part of our day-to-day lives. Robots have the power to greatly improve our quality of life by making things safer and daily tasks easier. But if used carelessly, they can also reduce human connections and create new social challenges. What do y'all think robots are composed of?
I think robots are just, wait, you said what robots are like made of? Like metal. Like metal and like wires and stuff.
Robots are advanced technology that has grown over the years. Most robots have human-like features like eyes and hands. According to National Geographic, robots have sensors, actuators, and programming. These three things make robots less like the technology around our houses, like TVs, microwaves, and some vacuums. The sensors help robots see and feel the world around them. The sensors that most robots use are cameras to see, microphones to hear, and pressure sensors to feel their surroundings. Like how robots vacuums need pressure sensors to make sure they do not bump into walls repetitively. Robots come in different shapes and sizes, so that usually just from looking at them you can tell what they are constructed for. The actuators, or pistons, are used just like our legs and arms. Robots use motored wheels to move around and finger-like grippers to grip objects. The last thing a robot needs is programming. You need to write a program that tells the robot, when you hear the music beat, move this way. Programming will help the robot understand the task you're giving. We also need a computer to make the robots understand the process and process the information we give them, from things like moving forward and picking up objects. Every robot will need a well-set-up sensor, actuator, and programming to work properly together. Even though robots are becoming increasingly advanced, they have limits that can still have positive effects. What are some positive ways that you know robots have affected our lives?
Do the jobs that we are not physically able to, lifting heavy objects, things that we cannot do within our own strength, robots can do because of the way they're made.
Thank you. Some ways robots have positively affected our lives is in healthcare, disaster response, and retail and hospitality. Advancements have allowed robots to do varieties of complex roles. According to the World Economic Forum, it states, in fact, the medical industry has been something of a leading light in this area, with forms of robots being used by doctors for over 3 decades. This shows that for over 3 decades, robots have been used alongside doctors in the medical industry in helping distribute medicine to people in need. In April, the UK's National Industry of Fur Health and Care excitingly approved 11 new robotic surgery systems for use. In the US, robots have been used to securely deliver medication to allow nurses to focus on patients. This evidence shows that robots help nurses to properly deliver medication to focus on what the nurses need to focus on. Next, by discovery and engineering, robots have positively affected disaster response. What disaster have you know that robots have helped in? Well, in Hurricane Harvey in 2017, UAVs, or unnamed aerial vehicles, were used to access flood damage and locate stranded individuals, and also deliver supplies. During this time, robots were more allowed or able, specifically flying robots, were more useful because of floods and destroyed buildings. So that's one way that robots have helped improve our life, by extending it. And lastly, retail and hospitality. Several factors are driving the adoption of physical robots. Retailers are looking to automate repetitive tasks like stocks, shelf stocking, and floor cleaning, freeing up human staff for more complex customer interactions. This means that robots have been more of a major help in retail areas of stores and in stores that don't have robots or are thinking of getting robots. Robots can be heroes in the hospitals, but villains in factories, replacing workers who depend on those jobs. Robots can also negatively affect our lives in many ways, like mental health of workers, work displacement, and reduced flexibility in production. Starting off with mental health of workers, stated by research working with robots have negative physiologically affected effects. The research which was published in Research Policy also found that a leisure degree, workers in roboticized workplaces feel less proficient in their responsibilities and less socially connected to coworkers. This means robots have made workers feel not as important in their respective areas they work in. Also stated by the text, historically there has always been sort of this anxiety about technology replacing jobs, but in reality, the story is far more complex. You can also say that robots have made workers suffer from a type of fear because of the lack of human interaction and the ability of them losing their jobs and money. This goes hand in hand with the next one, work displacement. This displacement hits certain social groups harder than others. Individuals with fewer education qualifications, for instance, may find it more difficult to adapt to new job requirements and demand higher technical skills. From this, you can see that robots replacing us makes it harder to get other jobs that may need requirements that we don't have. Next, robots reduce flexibilities in production. Automated systems are often designed for specific tasks, making it costly and time-consuming to adapt to new productions or market changes. This can hinder environment or responsiveness, especially in industries with fluctuating customer performance or short produce cycles. From this you can see it says that if robots is not built properly, it can be very time-consuming tasks and cost a lot. In conclusion, maybe the real question isn't whether robots will improve our life, but whether we'll use them wisely enough to make sure they do. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sherrod Bassett, and this is my presentation on Are Viruses Alive? They spread, they mutate, they survive, but are viruses really alive? Anybody like to answer this question?
No, they're not alive because they don't live the way that we do as humans or animals do.
Viruses affect everyone. It does not matter how young or old you are. Since you can be affected by them, wouldn't you want to know how they work and if they are alive? I can answer these questions for you, starting with the fact that viruses are not alive. Viruses can't reproduce without a host, they can't survive without a host, and they don't have metabolism. If viruses cannot survive by themselves, then they aren't alive. For starters, we need to figure out what exactly a virus is. Does anybody know what a virus is?
No, I don't.
According to Wikipedia, a virus is a submicroscopic infectious agent that replicates only inside the living cells of an organism. Viruses can have negative and positive impacts on living organisms. For instance, humans are positively affected by viruses because we use them for medical therapies. An example of how humans can be negatively affected by viruses is COVID-19. Does anybody know what COVID-19 was? Okay.
Yes, it was the virus that basically took over our lives and made us be quarantined.
COVID-19, also known as coronavirus, is a contagious disease that was spread worldwide in January 2020, resulting in the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. Now that we know what a virus is, we have to figure out why they aren't alive. To classify as a living thing, you need to have certain characteristics. Viruses lack multiple of these characteristics, such as having a metabolism, surviving by themselves, and reproducing with each other. Every living thing has a metabolism, unlike viruses, which hijack the cells of living organisms for their benefit. To support my claim, studies from Erica L. Sanchez and Michael Langenoff state that viruses are non-living entities and as such do not inherently have their own metabolism. My last piece of evidence as to why viruses are not alive is the fact that without a host, a virus can't perform any biological processes. Viruses can't do anything without a host except for exist. Dr. Aro Yang, who is a UCLA infectious disease expert, has stated that when a virus is not in a host, it's basically an inanimate object. This means viruses do not grow, respond, or reproduce unless they're inside a living cell, which further supports the idea that they are not living organisms. In conclusion, although viruses can spread rapidly and cause serious effects, they are not alive. They cannot survive independently, do not have metabolism, and cannot reproduce without a host. Scientific definitions and expert opinions clearly show that viruses lack the essential characteristics of life. Understanding this helps scientists study viruses more effectively and develop better treatments to protect humans from the diseases they cause. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Darius Chisholm, and my topic is cloning be illegal. Who here has seen the movie They Clone Tyrone? Mr. McLeod?
Yes, I have. It was a very good movie. It's about people who are cloned.
Yes, sir.
Black people.
Anyone else? Have anything to add? Okay, so much like in the movie, scientists all over the world are attempting to clone humans, according to the Center for Public Integrity. The National Institute of Health has also granted 36 grants to the cloning of non-human primates. Shortly after that, the Roslin Institute announced the creation of the sheep dolly, the first ever successful creation of a mammal from an adult cell. Now, cloning should not be illegal because it can be used to save life and even bring new life. One major reason cloning should not be illegal is because it has the potential to save human lives through medical treatments and organ replacement. Scientists are currently researching therapeutic cloning, which focuses on creating stem cells that can repair damaged tissue. And organs. This type of cloning should help patients suffering from diseases like Parkinson's, diabetes, spinal cord injuries, and heart diseases. Every year, thousands of people die while waiting for an organ transplant because there are not enough donors available. Cloning technology could allow scientists to grow healthy organs using a patient's own DNA, reducing the chances of organ rejection. Since the cloned organ would be genetically identical to the patient, the immune system would be less likely to attack it. Instead of banning cloning completely, governments should create laws that regulate and safely control its use for medical purposes. Okay. Cloning is the process of creating a genetically identical cell of a biological cell, tissue, or organism. The entire reason cloning was created for reproductive and therapeutics, or often referred to as somatic cell nuclear transfer, which is a technique used to create a genetically identical organism. According to the Health University of Utah 100 years ago, artificial embryo twinning in sea urchins were the first of natural cloning, which was researched by Adolf Edward Driscoll. And he found that by shaking two cell urchins, they would separate, and each cell would grow into a complete sea urchin. The example I explained in the last paragraph is just one of many experiments conducted on the topic of cloning in the history of science. Behind it, like the cells of a salamander that was split into two different cells by a strand of hair, proving that living organisms could continue to grow and develop after their cells were separated. These discoveries help scientists better understand genetics and reproduction, eventually leading to modern cloning science. Although many people fear cloning because of movies and science fiction, Real scientific cloning has already helped researchers study diseases, test medical treatments, and improve the survival of endangered animals. Making cloning illegal will stop scientists from continuing research that could potentially save millions of lives. In conclusion, cloning should not be illegal because it has the ability to save lives, advance medicine, and protect endangered species. Scientific experiments throughout history have shown that cloning is not simply science fiction, but a real field of research that continues to develop every year. From the cloning of the sheep dolly to the modern stem cell and conservative research, cloning has already contributed valuable knowledge to science and medicine. While there are ethical concerns that should be taken seriously, strict laws and regulations can prevent misuse without stopping progress completely. Instead of banning cloning out of fear, society should continue researching it responsibly so future generations can benefit from the medical and scientific breakthroughs it may provide. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jalen Williams, and my topic is about are all viruses harmful to humans. Does anybody know what a virus is?
Well, let me ask one of the students. What's a virus, Mrs. Haney? Your best guess.
It's an organism that attaches itself to people to survive because they can't do it by themselves, and they also sometimes harm humans. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Bassett, since you have energy paying attention to Haney, what do you think a virus is?
A virus is a submicroscopic infectious agent that only replicates inside the living cells of a organism.
He's reading it. Off the top of your head, give me what you think a virus is.
So basically, a virus is like an organism, but it hijacks the immune system of a living organism, such as a human or an animal, and it basically like lives off them. So
that's correct. That's done.
Thank you. What is a virus? A virus is a small, microscopic, non-living particle with materials that are genetic. Just like Bassett said. According to the World Health Organization, hundreds of millions of people get sick daily around the world. One of the most What do viruses do? When the virus enters a host, it hijacks the cells to duplicate, most likely causing disease for most people. One of these, something happening like this was COVID-19, damaging people's bodies and even killing around 7.1 million people. Just from catching COVID, according to the World Health Organization. Which is why most places like schools, jobs, stores, restaurants all had to close because of how dangerous COVID was. We all went through it, losing people that was relatively close to us. But all viruses are dangerous. Would someone like to take against Thomas?
I feel like all viruses have to be dangerous simply because they have to go inside another living organism and then kill itself in order to reproduce.
Anybody else like to take a guess?
I don't think they all are dangerous because I think there are some good viruses.
Thank you, I'm Thomas, of course. While a lot of viruses are very dangerous, not all of them are harmful. Not all of them are harmful, since some of them can actually help the human body. How can a virus help the human body? Viruses can be beneficial, like bacteriophages, in the human body for treating cancer and killing harmful bacteria. An example of this happening was a person named Thomas Patterson in 2016 was fighting a multi-drug resistant allobiotic infection. After antibiotics failed, doctors used viruses to save him, such as bacteriophages. And these viruses can be found in elemental sources and saved his life. He was able to live on. And got saved from cancer because of the virus. And all in all, while a lot of viruses in the world can be dangerous, it needs a cure for how detrimental they can be to the body. Other viruses can be a cure for the dangers you might have inside you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alicia Taylor, and my topic is how is TikTok negative for society? How many of you use TikTok for around hours of the day? How long would you say that you use TikTok for? Ivan?
I use TikTok on the weekdays a good 3 hours. On the weekends or when I have literally nothing to do outside of school, I want to say 8 to 12 and a half hours.
Baby?
Throughout the week, maybe 16 hours total.
Peyton?
I'll be on. I don't even know. I can't lie. I just be on there, just scrolling when I don't have anything to do.
Well, did you know, according to PubMed Central, TikTok is linked to 85% of signs of depression and anxiety of those who use the app. To give some context, TikTok is a platform with the hundreds of millions of people who share videos from all around the world. TikTok became a platform in 2016, but gained popularity in 2017. For a while, it was an entertaining app that included dancing, singing, and follow-along stories. But over time, the platform grew with mature content, like violence and inappropriate videos and pictures. The problem with this is that there are younger people who use the app, so this type of content would affect the people who aren't yet mature for that. TikTok can harm people mentally and physically with the content that is posted. Studies have shown that TikTok has a negative impact on society because of the pessimistic influence that it has. Does anybody know what social media is? Haney?
Social media is basically like this on the internet where you can talk to other people and post about your life. You can really post about anything. But most social medias do have restrictions on what you can post, but it's just a platform for people to talk to other people in the world.
Yes. Social media is a digital platform that enables others to create, share, and engage in real time. Social media can serve plenty of purposes, such as personal communication, entertainment, to business, marketing, and achievements. Social media has evolved from direct electronic information exchange to virtual gathering places to retail platforms. And it has made a vital 21st century marketing tool used by everyone, well, almost everyone around the world. You might ask next, what is TikTok? Does anybody know what they think TikTok is?
It's a hub of communication and short to long form entertainment that ranges from a 3-second clip towards a whole hour. I feel like TikTok is really ranging, and with its content, it's kind of similar towards Instagram and Snapchat in the sense that since everyone can access the platform and everyone has a voice, all its content and opinions can range from any emotion really, or any place.
Yes. TikTok is an app that is open to the public, which allows anyone to log into the app without verification. The platform being set up this way gives access to those who may not have good intentions. These people can ruin something that was originally made to help encourage those who use the app. With TikTok getting more and more popular, it started to spread all around the world. That means that it would eventually get to those people who have intentions to attempt to harm the mental state of others. Those with such intentions post violent or inappropriate things, and it gradually starts reaching the For You pages of people on the app. Yes, they've tried to get rid of these issues, but higher-ups and moderators seem to ignore the bad parts because of the more attention and benefits they seem to get. Why is TikTok negative to society? According to the National Library of Medicine, this app has affected so many families in some of the worst ways possible. It has especially hurt it and impacted women, girls, boys, and men who have opened the app and started comparing themselves to such high beauty standards of the app, leaving them discouraged and feeling the worst they've ever felt. There have been plenty of news articles on how TikTok is affecting daily life, stated by CNBC as well as CNN. CNBC states, TikTok is back and it's harming kids at an industrial scale. CNBC also says, TikTok encourages addictive, compulsive, and problematic use. This claim was proven by psychologists with evidence of court cases, articles, and statements from families affected. In conclusion, having explored TikTok's impact, it's clear that TikTok can be described as a helpful and entertaining app. This app can also harm people severely enough to mess with everyday life. What would you do to help make improvement? Thank you.